Hey everyone, Tom Seymour from VHS Massacre. Just here to do a little update and talk about independent filmmaking. For those of you who are new to the channel, we talk about independent filmmaking all the way from like planning out shoots and pre-production all the way through to the film festival circuit and distribution. I think this is something that people don't always talk about, is that sort of like, what to do with your film exactly. Um, and I usually tell you what's working and what's not working for me. And so hopefully you get some stuff out of it. The idea of today's show is brand building. And this is something Lloyd Kaufman of Trauma told me years ago. It was like, you definitely need to brand build and to have a base of power, he talked about. And that's just kind of having a central uh, business or brand to build off of. And so mine is VHS Massacre. It's a pretty successful brand. There's a podcast. The main thing is feature length films. We've been distributed everywhere from NBC Universal Peacock to Prime, Apple TV. Some of our oldest films got on the earliest form of Netflix back when it was physical media. And even Mubi and art house places. We recently did American Expendables Blu-ray through ETR and Vinegar Syndrome. And we're also a type of distribution company. Like, we have a label on MVD, so then we put out our own films through them. The biggest films are VHS Massacre 1, 2, and 3. The last one is called Video Dreams. It's currently in the film festival circuit with 24 wins and 49 official selections. And so the reason why it's doing so well is, we entered a lot of festivals. We entered about 130 festivals. So you can do the math on that, but in order to win, you got to enter. So that's one thing. So VHS Massacre as a brand has been around for probably about a decade. Even though we started earlier. We started a podcast in 2012, 2013 called New York Cine. And we started working on the first VHS Massacre documentary, feature-length documentary then. And we finished it, but by the time it was put out and distributed, and it got all this praise, got VHS Massacre 1 and 2 praised by the New York Times in 2023, it's been a slow build. So essentially, when we put the movie out through Trauma, well, I love Trauma, by the way. If you're trying to get your name out there, Trauma's a really good place to try to start off. And they did a great job with distribution of VHS Massacre 1 and 2. And the brand started getting around. And the good thing about Trauma is that if they put out your film, it's a kind of a community. If you think of like horror communities, it's a pretty big horror community. If you say you love horror films and you don't know Trauma, I'm gonna say you don't really know horror films. So it's that kind of thing. So same thing with Vinegar Syndrome. If you say you're a horror movie fan but you don't know what Vinegar Syndrome is, I don't know. Do you really? So that can be a good place to put out your film for exposure. And so at a certain point, the podcast, I just converted everything over to the name VHS Massacre, because the VHS Massacre was the thing that was most popular among all the stuff I was doing. And so that's something to consider too. It's like, so many filmmakers, you make films for years, you're looking for some area of success, and it's not always the most obvious thing. I have been making films for over 30 years. And so trying a bunch of different things, feature-length horror films. In 2022, we put out Exorcism of Fleet Marish, a feature-length horror film. Exorcism film. It's fun. It's like a cabin in the woods, but there's an exorcism. So that's free on Tubi and Kings of Horror and all that stuff. we put that out in it did well, but I think part of the reason is that um, VHS Massacre as a brand was already a bit established, and MVD was able to put it out through various venues. So, but really, what worked for me, what has worked at least for the past decade, has been special interest documentary. And so, for a lot of filmmakers out there starting out, horror, special interest documentary, genre film, these are good places to try to make a splash. And obviously, I recommend the film festival circuit. I recommend underground and genre films. And uh, unless you think you've done something really lofty, you might want to stay away from like Tribeca and Sundance, stuff like that. The horror film festivals and the underground film festivals can be more welcoming, although some are pretty big and snobby in their own way. So anyway, so the VHS Massacre brand, a few of the things that have happened was that I recently broke. We crossed this 60,000 follower mark, and it's across all social media. So if we look here, 6,004 followers on TikTok. And so we have about Instagram has about 15,000, Twitter has about 3.5K, TikTok 6K, Threads another 3K. That's kind of part of that. 20K, YouTube 5.5K, Blue Sky total across all the Facebooks closer to 9 or 10. So the way I've been able to build my social media presence is across all these platforms. And I would actually say the most interaction I get is actually TikTok. Second most, Instagram. Interactions, third most, X, and then, YouTube. We can get some good numbers on YouTube, but it really just depends what you put up. So that's basically the VHS Massacre brand. There's a podcast. This is the catalog. VHS Massacre Films, Exorcism of Fleet Marriage. American Expendables is a documentary about direct-to-video action stars like Cynthia Rothrock and Billy Blanks. That was put out through ETR and Vinegar Syndrome. Vinegar Syndrome did the distribution for the physical media, which is like a huge deal for me personally, because that is definitely like essentially criterion for genre film. And so, but all this, you have to understand, all this took place, everything sort of built up to it. My editing skills have built up over the past 30 years. Technology has made things, made me be able to work much faster. There's a lot of things that have happened, and also the VHS Massacre brand has gained credibility. There were some major things like New York Times and praised it, Dances with Films, and some of the art house platforms like Mubi and stuff like that started to take it. So this kind of stuff happens, but it can happen slowly. And I would like to think it's because I recognized at a certain point I had to pivot to doc because I didn't have any money left or money raising ability to do like horror or action or comedy anymore. So it was like, let me pivot to doc, especially because the video stores were closing at the time that I started. We covered the last Blockbuster in New York closing and a bunch of other stuff. So Kim's Video. And so because I was able to pivot and recognize that there was some success success there, I was able to play upon that. So, keep that in mind. Like, if you have some kind of victory, kind of try to examine it a little bit, see what you're doing there. Maybe you can maximize that. So, but it took an awful long time. You could really say the brand and the VHS Massacre documentaries as a whole have really only had let's say a certain level of prestige only in the last 5 years, really. Maybe 3 or 4. So this stuff happens, but it happens very slowly. The Video Dreams Film Festival tour, 49 official selections, and some of the selections were from Cinexcess, Top Genre Fest in the UK, one of them, San Francisco Independent Film Festival, very important festival. They call it the Slam Dance of San Francisco. Melbourne Underground, a double win from there. In Arizona Underground, 2 of the top in the world. Melbourne, arguably the top in the world. People would say Chicago Underground as well. We have some screenings coming up here. Just to mention real quick, we just did East Hampton, and that played at Visions Video, played at a real video store, which is cool. Savoy Lumiere, that's a festival in Illinois. And then Romford is coming up. It's playing May 22nd through the 25th at this cool multiplex. So we got that going on. And then New Filmmakers New York, I think they're going to screen this summer. We got to figure out a block of time to do that. In other really cool news, we interviewed Rhonda Shear from the Up All Night USA cable series. And she has launched actually a brand new Roku channel called Up All Night, and it's free. I was watching it the other day, and it's got all of our new shows. It's got all 500 episodes of the old shows air with Gilbert Godfrey and with her when they were doing the show on USA Network, and as well as she's launched a new version of Up All Night, which John Brennan is featured in. Who's also in this doc right here. So the Enter the Television documentary is really shaping up to be something special. We have Lloyd Kaufman, who's just a independent film legend, Debbie Rochon, Professor James Richardson, Bill D. Russell, Greg Brewer, and Tim Cooling is producing and composing, and now we have Rhonda Shear on board, which is really super cool. So I'm editing that now. That is a massive edit, and it's pretty complicated stuff because I'm dealing with media theory and communications theory, and I want to make sure I get all that stuff right, and that it holds water. Whatever I'm trying to communicate has a basis in reality, So, but I think the doc is really cool. We talk about cable, how cable allowed for companies like Troma to play their films. Rhonda Shear, her show would host some of these films, everything from Hellraiser and Friday the 13th to Toxic Avenger. W. Rochon was in a number of those films, and also the film is about commercials and how those are marketed and what the tactics they use. But she was she did some 1-900 commercials back in the day for like chat lines and stuff like that. So we're going to examine that. And then Greg talks about Max Headroom. Bill D. Russell talks about he was in the Perfect Video Store, a Blockbuster video commercial in which the store kind of comes up out of nothing. It's a really elaborate commercial. He talks all about that, plus the Pizza Hut commercials and a bunch of other stuff he was in, Alaska Airlines, and also he was in Puppet Master Dr. Death, so he was great as well. And then James just talks about new media technology theory, and then he actually talks about rap in commercials, which I think I love this. So, and John Brennan does too. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Actually, it has some serious elements and some comedy elements. We so I got permission from Trauma and Lloyd Kaufman to do director's cuts of VHS Massacre 1 and 2. I don't plan to do those anytime soon. I think that's something that I might consider doing a box set of down the road further, is director's cuts of VHS Massacre 1 and 2 with Video Dreams, maybe the trilogy. But that's some really exciting news. Um, and So, and VHS Massacre 2 really killed it too. I'm looking at this stuff, Tubi, Screenbox, Cineverse. Um, Cineverse is actually who bought the Toxic Avenger, the Hollywood remake with Peter Dinklage and Legendary Pictures, and they also bought Terrifier, the Terrifier series. It's also, so Screenbox is also very cool as well. I'm very excited to be on there. American Expendables has been out for a little while, but I did want to say that this awesome Blu-ray with this is the slipcover. This movie is out. It's about direct-to-video action stars in the film catalog, North American Pictures. It looks to be selling really well. I believe they started with 2,000 units, and they're down to 240 left on the slipcover and 262 on the standard. So yeah, I think it went pretty solid, and it's a cool disc. It actually includes an action film on it. This film I did a director's cut called Fountain of Death, and it has that film on there too, which is it's like a kind of wacky action sci-fi thing. It's like, I don't know, Bad Taste meets Mortal Kombat, but with no money, you know. So I think that's a pretty good disc. You know, I think it's a good value. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. So, I mean, the only what I'd say is, just as an independent filmmaker, you have to do it long enough for you to acquire a skill set and refine those skills and find out where your strengths are. Then you have to make a bunch of stuff, and you do have to put it out into the market. I know there's some people arguing on that, you know, like, oh, don't put out anything until it's perfect. And yes, that's true to a point, but also you don't know when something is perfect, you know. So you have to I think you've got to refine it as much as possible, test screen it, send it to your friends, get all those notes, fix everything you can, but then you got to put it out there. And then the audience will let you know, and the reviewers will let you know, and then you can take what you think is valid and correct from there. So, and I've had to do that over 30 years. You learn these lessons very hard, but you eventually do learn these lessons. And I think I've been able to craft my skills to a point where, I'm able to put out pretty decent products now. So, so anyone can do it. You just can't give up, and you have to learn to enjoy the process and just understand that, it's a long road, but you have to build in celebrations for yourself, and that's film festival circuit is a lot of that. If you finish a feature-length film or a short film and you're super proud of it, take a little time, maybe find a partner, invest a little money, chip in, and try to enter at least 20 film festivals. I would recommend 50. We did 130, okay? But our goal was to try to play in 50 cities. Now, we've gotten almost 50 selections. I don't know how many cities that is. Maybe 40 cities, because there's some overlap. But we were treating that as our film festival run. But it's something really nice you can do for yourself. Try to research festivals and try to find festivals that play films very much like the one you made. Enter a bunch of those, and maybe you get into some and maybe you win some. And an official selection is definitely a big deal as well. So when I got into San Francisco Independent Film Festival, I was delighted. This film, American Expendables, won at San Francisco Indie Fest Another Hole in the Head, which is a top genre fest, and it won Best Documentary. So, which is pretty awesome. So it can be done, and you can do it. And these documentaries do not cost very much to make, and editing software is pretty much free these days. I prefer Premiere, but I think DaVinci Resolve, I think there's a free version there. You can dive in and start cutting, so it's something to consider. Okay, anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.